Welcome back to the Rock, Paper, Scissors video series. This is video 6 of 7. We've got one more to go after this. We're happy to have you along. On the screen is the finished product, and as you know by now, this is a one-click user interface that allows a user to choose one of three icons, rock, paper, or scissors. Computer will generate their output, and then we will get results. So let me refresh my screen on the finished product here. And now, notice the bottom is blank. I'm going to select paper. Once I select paper, computer randomly generates the scissors output. We're told a comparison, scissors beats paper, and then the results are try again. If I select scissors, notice now the computer changes the selection. It doesn't have to, there's a 1/3 chance, but then we have the comparison, scissors beats paper, and you win. So that's it in a nutshell, but what we have found out in the last video is there is a little bit of JavaScript under the hood here. Actually, there's quite a bit. So let's get back to where we left off and take a look at our globally defined variables. We've defined user choice, computer choice, and those are declarations, not initializations. So we didn't assign anything to them, but we just allocated space or told JavaScript engine, hey, please allocate space for these named spots within your storage, and we will use them later. On line 4, we initialized a variable for icons. In other words, we declared it and made the assignment all in one shot. And we did it in the form of an array. The array is, or a list, is inside of the square brackets, and it is an array of strings separated by commas. First one is rock, second one is paper, third one is scissors. And remember, how do we access that? Well, we're accessing it with indices or index. And indices within a list start at 0, and that means rock is at 0, paper is at 1, scissors at 2. Down below, we have the on event for the rock icon, all set. And with one exception, if you take a look at line 8. Within the rock icon, once the user chooses that, we want to capture that user's choice and store it. So that's what the user choice variable is. And we're getting at icon 0, that's rock. The next line down is rand computer. That is running or calling a function. And as you can imagine, based on the name, the intent behind the function is to generate the random selection by the computer. So all is well and good with top-down design there. We are getting our big picture ideas, but we set aside the writing of that function until now. So let's head on over to the functions toolbox, and on the screen, here is the method call that we used for line 8. Notice there's nothing inside of the parentheses, so that was calling without a parameter. Notice the next one down, there is something inside the parentheses that is calling with a parameter. Parameters are information that dynamically change the block of code based on the call. And when you call, if you put stuff in the parentheses, it will change within the code, but you don't have to rewrite the code. So very powerful. However, we chose without parameters. Take a look at line 8. There's nothing inside the parentheses. We simply want, hey, run the rand computer function, and let's be done with it. So we want to be able, or we want to make sure that when we write this, we're matching that style. So we do not want the second one down, define a function with parameters. We want the first one. And notice what the difference is between the definition and the call. The keyword, the JavaScript keyword function, appears first. Then we name the function. Then we have parentheses that could hold parameters. And then the curly brackets, and inside of those brackets is the code that will run. So let's drag that first one down. Very important, place it underneath or outside of the on event. And we want to name that rand computer. So let me make sure, there we go. Okay, and check your spelling. Make sure that the rand computer matches what is on line 8. It looks like we're good to go. So as you can imagine, we want computer choice to have an assignment stored. We want something stored in computer choice before we get to line 9. That's going to happen with the call, or in other words, it will happen in here. But we need the random selection first. So what I'm going to do is come on over to variables. Let's go down to the third one, a variable assignment. Drag that block in. And let's use a new variable. I'm going to call this rand index. Okay, so now rand index, as you can imagine, is going to make a selection that matches where we store the data. I either want a 0 to pop up, a 1, or a 2. 0 would be for rock, paper would be 1, scissors would be 2. So we want that randomly selected, so we head on over to our friends at the math toolbox. And at the top, all of the Boolean comparison operators or math operators show up. The last one in that bunch is the not Boolean operator. And again, remember, we use that in the if statements to generate a true or false result to determine whether we ran code inside of the if statement block. The next line down is the mathematical random choice, just like rolling a die, but there's not 6 sides, we just want 3. So let's drag that random number function into the assignment side of the random index variable, and we want min of 0, tab over, and we want our max to be 2. Okay. Take a look here. Once again, we get a triangle coming up saying rand index has not been declared yet. So what we need to do is actually introduce it to the program globally. We don't want it just used inside of a local block of code like an event or a function. We want it used throughout the entire program. So we are going to come up to variables here, scroll on up to the top, and we're going to use our variable, our declaration of a variable, meaning we're not assigning anything yet, we're just declaring and introducing it. So let's drag that right underneath line 3. Okay, and we want rand index here. Keep your eye on the spelling, make sure that matches what we use down below. R-A-N-D, capital I-N-D-E-X. And now we have introduced that variable, and notice line 22 now does not have VAR in front of it, or letter const, and we're actually making an assignment. Generate a random number from 0, 1, or 2. Okay, once we have that, now we have to store something in computer choice. Take a look back up to line 10. Computer choice needs to have something stored first to compare, is it rock, is it scissors, or not. So we are going to go back to our friends at the variables again, and drag down our assignment. Once there, we're going to put in computer choice. Okay, and check the spelling here, but let's see. We hasn't been declared yet. I think we have the spelling right, and we have it up here, so it just hasn't been assigned. So line 3 actually introduced that computer choice variable to the program, so we're all set with that. Let's come on down here, and now we want an index from our list feature. So actually, I apologize, I'm scrolling up and down here. Recall that our icons list on line 5 now, 0 for rock, 1 for paper, 2 for scissors. That's where we want to assign our value from. So let's stay within variables, scroll all the way down to the list area, and we want this list assignment or access list item. Let's drag that one on the variable assignment side on the right hand side, and list is the generic, so we want icons as the name of the list. And I'm just going to double check to make sure that's how I spelt it. Yes, it's with an S. Okay, so back we are here. And now we don't want 0, 1, or 2 inside of the curly brackets. We wanted that randomly generated. So what do you think goes here? Well, if you said the variable rand index, you are correct because we already did the random assignment on the line above, 22. So computer choice is going to get from the icons list whatever random index is chosen. So if it's 1, it's scissors, 2, it's paper, 0, it's rock. And now we've got our computer choice randomly selected. All right, before I go any further, let's head on over to the functions toolbox again, and I want to drag a comment right above line 21. Again, comments are not read by the JavaScript engine. However, it is for us to organize our code. Comments could be used to debug as well, but right now we are just going to put define okay, and we want that comment to read define random or rand computer function. All right. Okay, now back to the function itself. As you can imagine, what ultimately has to happen here is when we come over to the user interface, whatever is randomly selected, we now want that icon under the computer selects to change to match that selection. So if icons at random index 0 is rock, we're going to change the icon to the rock icon. And you get the gist of it. So if you listen to what I'm saying, and if you say this, catch yourself saying this out loud, you can hear the if statement in my sentence. So we want to hit Control, come on over to the if statements, and drag that right underneath computer choice. Very important that we keep that within the function green blocks here, not outside. We want that if statement inside. And as you can now imagine, all of our if statements, take a look at line 13 here, have a Boolean test to run. So let's head on over to our math Boolean test. Let's grab our equality operator as we have in the past. And again, it doesn't always have to be double equals. It could be less than, greater than, whatever your program calls for. But we're looking for a match here. So if computer choice equals rock. All right, if computer choice equals rock, now we want to set the property of the image. So we're back to our UI controls here, and we want to scroll down to a set property function. Drag that in. And there are 3 parameters required of this function, set property. So this is a function defined in the library itself that we are using, but now you kind of get the idea of what a parameter is. We used rand computer does not require a parameter, but set property does. It requires 3. So I'm going to move my cursor over to the design and notice that the ID is computer icon. So I want to capture that ID. Now, once I do that, the next piece is what property of that computer ID do you want to change? I want to change the image itself. Then, when I come over and pull this down, I get to select a different icon. So we're going to change this. Let's do the search for rock and select our appropriate icon, and we're all set. So if computer choice equals rock, then the computer icon will put a new image, which is the Font Awesome Hand Rock icon. All right. Now, as you can imagine, we have two other possibilities. So click on that plus button twice, and we're going to bring another comparison of equality operator in to the Boolean test within the if statement. And here we're going to have computer choice equals paper. Okay, check your spelling on that. We want computer choice to match the variable up above. Lowercase c at the beginning, capital C for choice. And then we also want paper to match our list. So it looks like we're good to go here. And as you could probably anticipate, if this is true, then we're going to run that block of code where we need another set property, and we want to change that icon to the paper icon. So take a moment and do that on your own, and we'll be right back. Okay, on the screen, take a look again. We should have on line 28 set property. This should be assigned to the computer icon. That's our user interface HTML element that we are trying to impact with the code. And we want the image to be changed. So that's the property, and then the value is the Font Awesome hand icon. Now, be careful with this. If I pull the computer icon down, and if I accidentally chose computer choice here as an ID, when you go to the property, I won't see an image property because computer choice is not an image HTML element. It's a text box. So if you accidentally choose a different ID, just double check that. And because based on the ID, all of the CSS properties come up in that second drop down. Okay. All right. Last but not least, if the random index was not rock or paper, by default it must be scissors. So we do not have to do a Boolean test. Does computer choice equal rock? Does computer choice equal paper? If we got falses on both of those, the only other thing left is to actually put the scissors icon up there. So would you take a moment to do that? Change your set property accordingly. We'll be right back. Okay, let's see if you have this on line 30. We should have computer icon. The property we're changing is the image. We're literally replacing that with the Font Awesome. The value is the Font Awesome scissors icon. Okay, so it looks like we have completed the rand computer function definition. So now if we go back up to line 9 in the on event for the rock icon, once that line 9 is hit, the computer will say, okay, I'm looking for a function definition. It will hoist up lines 22 to 32 and run that code first. Then it will continue with line 10 to line 19 with a flow of control. So programs are read top down. However, with functions, we can call that function as many times as we want. So traditionally, we put the definitions of the function outside or down below, and it's called hoisting. The computer or the JavaScript engine or the server knows enough to go and look for that, match up the names, and say, oh yeah, I see the instructions for this. Let me go and read that. So congratulations, we have completed our first function without parameters, and now let's test out to see if this works. So let's head on over to our screen and let's hit run. And now we're in run mode, so I'm going to come over. Notice nothing has happened because we have an event listener tied to the icon, which is the rock icon. Let me come over and click on the icon and take a look at the computer selects. The computer also randomly chose rock, we are told comparison output is it's a match, and the results are you tie. So let's try one more time. Let's click on user selects rock again, and notice the computer selects scissors. So that was done automatically. Rock beats scissors is the comparison. You win is the output. It looks like what we have drawn up is actually working. Now, let me ask you this. If I were to come over to the hand, the paper icon, or the scissors icon, would I get a result? And yes, you're correct. The answer is no. We have not established that on event yet. So that is in the next video. Thank you for sticking around and going through how functions are called and defined. We'll see you in the next one, everybody.